Derek Whitman had always been a man of charm and cunning, the type who could talk his way out of almost any situation. For years, his wife, Emily, had turned a blind eye to the red flags, chalking them up to her own insecurities. But deep down, she had always known that Derek's fidelity was a fragile thing, balanced precariously on his whims. The breaking point came on a rainy Thursday evening. Emily had stumbled upon a series of text messages that Derek had carelessly left on his phone. The messages revealed an affair with a woman named Vanessa, whose words oozed a strange mixture of obsession and desperation. What unnerved Emily the most wasn't the affair itself but the tone of the messages. Vanessa's love for Derek seemed unhinged, almost feral. When Emily confronted Derek, he didn't deny it. Instead, he left. He packed a bag and walked out of their suburban home, leaving Emily standing in the doorway, stunned and humiliated. Within days, Derek moved in with Vanessa, a woman whose outward beauty masked a deeply troubled psyche. At first, Derek thought he had found freedom. Vanessa was intoxicating in her wildness, and her passion for him made him feel invincible. But it didn't take long for her cracks to show. She was possessive to the point of paranoia, constantly accusing Derek of looking at other women or secretly communicating with Emily. Her mood swung violently, and her love often turned into rage. One night, Derek woke to find Vanessa standing over him, holding a knife. Her face was a mask of twisted affection as she whispered, "If I can't have you, no one can." Derek managed to calm her down, but the incident left him shaken. He realized that Vanessa wasn't just passionate, she was dangerous. By then, Derek's charm had worn thin. Vanessa's love was suffocating, her need for control absolute. Derek began to think of Emily, of the life he had left behind. In his mind, she was a safe harbor, a place where he could find redemption and stability. Convinced he could fix things, he decided to leave Vanessa and return to his wife. When Derek showed up on Emily's doorstep, he was a shadow of the man she once knew. He begged for her forgiveness, promising that he had changed and that he would do whatever it took to make things right. Against her better judgment, Emily let him in, not because she believed him but because she still loved him, despite everything. But Vanessa was not one to be discarded. The day after Derek returned to Emily, strange things started happening. Emily's car tires were slashed. Anonymous letters filled with threats began arriving in the mail. Derek's phone rang at odd hours, the caller never speaking but breathing heavily before hanging up. Then came the night that would change everything. Emily woke to the sound of shattering glass. She shook Derek awake, her heart pounding as she whispered that someone was in the house. Derek grabbed a baseball bat from under the bed and crept downstairs, with Emily following close behind. What they saw froze them in their tracks. Vanessa stood in the living room, her eyes wild and her hands clutching a gasoline canister. She had smeared makeup across her face, and her clothes were disheveled. She smiled when she saw them, a chilling grin that sent shivers down Emily's spine. "You think you can just leave me, Derek?" Vanessa said, her voice trembling with fury. "You think you can run back to her and pretend I don't exist?" Derek tried to reason with her, stepping forward with his hands raised. But Vanessa wasn't listening. She tipped the gasoline canister, spilling its contents across the floor. The smell was overpowering, and Emily's mind raced as she realized the gravity of the situation. "Vanessa, please," Emily said, her voice steady despite the fear gripping her. "You don't have to do this. Whatever you're feeling, we can talk about it." Vanessa's eyes flicked to Emily, and for a moment, she seemed to waver. But then she pulled a lighter from her pocket, her hand shaking as she flicked it on. The tiny flame danced in the air, casting eerie shadows on the walls. "No one leaves me," Vanessa said. In a desperate move, Derek lunged at her, knocking the lighter from her hand. It skittered across the floor as Vanessa screamed, clawing at him with a ferocity that belied her petite frame. Emily grabbed the lighter, extinguishing it before the gasoline could ignite. The struggle ended with the sound of sirens in the distance. A neighbor, awakened by the commotion, had called the police. Vanessa was arrested, screaming Derek's name as officers dragged her away. In the weeks that followed, Derek and Emily tried to pick up the pieces of their lives. But the scars ran deep, and trust was a fragile thing. Derek sought therapy, hoping to understand the choices that had led him down such a destructive path. Emily, too, sought counseling, unsure if she could ever truly forgive him. As for Vanessa, she was committed to a psychiatric facility, her obsession with Derek still burning bright. Though she was no longer a physical threat, Her presence lingered like a shadow over their lives, a constant reminder of the chaos she had brought into their world. Derek and Emily's road to recovery was long and uncertain, but they took it one step at a time, learning to navigate the fragile line between love and forgiveness. And while the danger had passed, they knew all too well that some wounds never fully heal.